in a showdown between the Chiefs and Chargers, two of the league's best teams led by two of the game's bright young quarterbacks. An unheralded 7th-round draft pick who a few years ago was working alongside his mother in a Wendy's restaurant stole the show. The Chiefs' Jalen Watson picked off Justin Herbert at the goal line early in the fourth quarter last night, headed the other way, and was never touched on a 99-yard go-ahead touchdown that propelled Kansas City to a 27-24 win. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes threw for 235 yards with TD passes to Jerick McKinnon and Justin Watson. And fill-in kicker Matt Amendola was perfect in place of injured Harrison Butker, but it was the Chiefs' defense and Watson's highlight reel interception that allowed Kansas City to overcome its early problems in an early divisional test. Justin Herbert finished with 334 yards and 3 touchdown passes, gamely tried to keep the Chargers alive, threw a 36-yard dart on 4th down to extend their ensuing possession, then hit Joshua Palmer in the back of the end zone on 4th and goal to pull LA within 27-24 with just over a minute to go. But Kansas City recovered the onside kick and ran out the clock to end the game. Hello, friends, and welcome to this very special Friday night edition of NFL Saturday, TXN Sports World NFL Friday. I am your host, Anthony Florio. I am joined by Michael Bullock. Not often we say this, but we might be awaiting the presence of good old MF Michael Fletcher. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and find out. If he comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll hopefully have him with us Monday night for Ridiculously Raw. Special Friday edition of NFL Friday, as I have special plans tomorrow. I don't know how long it'll be going, so that's why we're doing this show here tonight. So with that, we just talked about it. Kansas City Chiefs defeating the LA Chargers 27-24 to kick off the Amazon Prime Video era of Thursday Night Football with Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit, and another great game. Maybe not as exciting as the previous two Thursday nights these two have had, but it was still a fun game regardless. After that epic performance Mahomes had against Arizona, a little held in check. 235, 2 TDs. Herbert, 334, 3 TDs, had a pick. No rushing touchdowns. Austin Eckler, only 39 yards for the Chargers. Clyde Edwards-Helaire led the Chiefs with 74 yards rushing. Mike Williams was one of the stars of the game. 8 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown. Joshua Palmer had a receiving touchdown, and Xander Horvath had one as well for the Chargers. Justin Watson, a receiving touchdown. Jerick McKinnon, a receiving touchdown. And 1 sack for the Charger defense. 2 sacks for the Chief defense. Chris Jones had them both. And that was all she wrote as the Kansas City Chiefs knocked off the Los Angeles Chargers 27-24 last night on Thursday Night Football. So, just bear with me for a moment here. Oh, okay. Just got a message from MF. He had to restart his computer. Yes, MF. Yep, and that's exactly what we're doing right now, MF. So, don't worry. MF had to do a computer restart. MF will be here shortly. So that's all I'm saying right there. So all right. So MF will be joining us in just a few minutes. Yep, he'll try to be on in a little bit. All right. So all right. So while we await for MF, Michael Bullock, come on in. Let's get your thoughts on last night's Thursday Night Football game between the Los Angeles Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs winning it 27-24. The Chiefs now go to 2-0, and bear with me for a moment. All right. All right. And next week, Kansas City goes on the road to face the Indianapolis Colts, while the Chargers will go back home to host the Jacksonville Jaguars next week. So, Chiefs 2-0, Chargers 1-1. All right, Bullock, now you can come in. Just wanted to address that. So, Chiefs win 27-24 in a solid game to kick off the Amazon Prime Video era of Thursday Night Football last night.
Yeah, like you said, this was a pretty good game. I mean, and this is a reason why. Yes, the Chiefs are an easy choice to win the AFC West, but do not sleep on this LA Chargers team because they've hung around with the Kansas City Chiefs. Like they did last night and what they did last year, and yeah, they could. They could be a team that makes the playoffs. This LA Chargers team. So yeah, they definitely gave the Chiefs everything they could, but it was just a key turnover that pretty much ended any chance of a comeback for the Chargers here. But yeah, Kansas City did their job. They're now 2-0, and so yeah, it's onward to next week for both teams. So that's pretty much all I got to say there. So well, we got good old MF Fletcher with us. So Fletch, come
Yep.
on in and give us your thoughts on Chiefs and Chargers last night on Thursday Night Football.
Very competitive game, very interesting battle. The way that this game really developed, especially going down the field, uh, you kind of had a feeling like it could go a number of ways, and it did. The Chargers came out red hot, looked really good, but Kansas City just they know how to play these type of games. They know these type of wars, and by per the usual, it was yet again another one of those type of games where everything just kind of went one way or the other, and it was a close matchup. It was a close outcome, but Kansas City just had the will and the power and just enough to get the job done, and they won it. So Kansas City's 2-0, and like we said, now the Kansas City is proving to the rest of the NFL and more importantly to the fans that they are, everybody was like, oh, Kansas City's going to be a different team. But now that they had, with everything going on, all of a sudden, they're a game changer. Um, so we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But Kansas City's proving themselves to the rest of the league that they are more dangerous than what is being led on. We all thought, oh, they're not gonna pose a threat or any type of problem. And sure enough, they are actually posing a threat and a problem. And anybody who really thought that Kansas City wasn't going to make a playoff run or be competitive in the AFC, I think they're starting to rethink those thoughts right about now. Any team in the AFC better be watching themselves because it looks like the Chiefs are not ready to give up the AFC kingdom just yet. So we'll wait and see what happens there. The Chargers looked like a good team, looked like they were going to be dangerous. Yeah, trouble. So we'll wait and see how it plays out. But nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
All right, MF. So with that, now let's get to the good stuff. The remaining games of week number 2. And we started off, speaking of the number 2, it's our number 2 game of the week. Last night was the Tony and Mikey special, and well, now we go from that to the number 2 game of the week on our side of the ledger, as it will be the Miami Dolphins squaring off against the Baltimore Ravens from M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. On CBS, Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, Melanie Collins will be on the call. And the Ravens are opening up as 3.5-point favorites. Baltimore leads the all-time series 8-7. They met last year on a Thursday night, and it was the Miami Dolphins who came away with the win 22-10, snapping a 3-game losing streak to the Baltimore Ravens. Their first meeting in Baltimore since 2017. I think that was a Thursday night game as well. And Baltimore, well, they blew the doors off MF's Dolphins on that night, 40-0. We don't talk about that.
That was the night that was the Kiko Alonso incident when he blew up Joe Flacco, and that almost caused a brawl between the Ravens and Dolphins. So there's been some genuine bad blood between the two teams for a number of years, and even the fan bases have drawn some blood against each other. So, oh no, this is an underground rivalry between these two teams.
Indeed. And that was the last meeting in Baltimore. Believe it or not, the Miami Dolphins have only won in Baltimore once. And it was the very first meeting between these two teams, all the way back in 1997. The Miami Dolphins defeated the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore 24-13. Other than that, every time they played in Baltimore, the Ravens have won. So we'll see what happens. So with all that, you know how we do it? Let's do it here. Week 2. And what a way to start it. Here we go. What to watch for? Will the Ravens have an answer for Miami's aggressive defense? In last year's meeting, Baltimore quarterback Lamar Jackson faced 24 defensive back blitzes from the Dolphins, the most faced by any quarterback since 2015. Miami sent at least 2 defensive backs on 18 of those. It held the Ravens to 10 points in that game, Baltimore's fewest in Jackson's 50 career starts. Bold prediction, Jackson will have under 200 passing yards against the Dolphins. The Ravens say they're ready for the Dolphins' pressure, but the aggressive approach will still contain the Baltimore passing game. Jackson averaged just 4.7 yards per completion in that meeting last year. However, Miami's D won't be enough to pull the upset. On passes thrown 10 to 20 yards downfield last season, Miami quarterback Tua Tagovailoa had a 39.7 QBR, 29th, a 47.3 completion percentage, 27th, and a 0 touchdown, 6 interception ratio. But in week 1 this season, he had a 99 QBR, 5th, 66.7% completion percentage, tied for 6th, and a 1 touchdown, 0 interception ratio on those passes. What to know for fantasy? Dolphins receiver Tyreek Hill has faced the Ravens 3 times in his career. He cleared 21 fantasy points in both victories, but managed just 5.9 points in the loss last season. Just 14 yards on his 31 routes. How lucky do you feel with his Dolphins labeled as an underdog in this spot? Betting nugget, Baltimore is 9-1 against the spread in its last 10 games against Miami, but the Dolphins are 8-2 against the spread in their last 10 games overall, dating back to last season. But the FPI likes the Baltimore Ravens, 72.8%, 73% going with Baltimore. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens to win this game as well. My final score, 27-20. The Baltimore Ravens defeat the Miami Dolphins in what should be a very exciting game on Sunday. So, not much more to say here. MF, Dolphins, Ravens in Baltimore, number 2 game of the week. What a way to start off our week 2 slate.
Yeah, and this is going to be a major test for Miami. You know, going up against the Patriots last week, we saw some good from Miami. We saw some not so great. And the thing is that you got to be consistent. You have to be a complete game on this one. Tua had some moments where he looked really, really good, especially that 4th and 7 call. I mean, like Tyreek Hill said in his his post-game interview in the locker room, he channeled some South Park saying that Mike McDaniel, somebody get a wheelbarrow for his nutsack because that boy had big cojones, and boy, he did. That was an insane call, to say the very least, to do what he did. But it worked out. It was a great call. Made Mike McDaniel look like a genius, and he instantly made Dolphin fans fall in love with him. Look, the way you got to beat the Baltimore Ravens is you got to throttle Lamar Jackson. They were able to figure it out last year. Remember the Thursday night game? Lamar had a good game. He did. He had his moments, but Miami was able to go with a single high formation or had zero formation, and they formulated the traps and everything else. You got to play almost that similar style game. Tua came in from relief and actually played really well. The difference is now is that you got Jalen Waddle, you got Tyreek Hill, and the secondary for the Ravens are hurt. That could open the door for a Dolphins win. He's slinging the ball because that's the same thing that they did last week against New England. They couldn't establish a running game, but the passing attack was good enough that they were able to exploit New England, and that's how they won that game. The other thing that Miami's going to have to do is figure out a way to get to Lamar Jackson. Just like they did with Mac Jones, causing them to throw an interception, causing them to scoop and score on a fumble, and just to harass them all game. That defense is going to have to figure it out a way to do it. But there is a good running attack. The receiving core, especially Mark Andrews, is a problem. And Miami is a little banged up as well, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We don't have Byron Jones. We don't know if Noah Igonagani is going to play. He didn't play last week. Nick Needham didn't really have a great game. So you kind of have to feel that certain guys are not going to be there, that if that happens, that might be bad news, especially offense. And then offensively, Miami needs the running game to get going. You know, they got Raheem Mostert. They got Chase Edmonds. This is why they had it. The offensive line is a little hurt right now. Armstead has not practiced all week up to this point, but Mike McDaniels is sure he is in. We already lost Austin Jackson. Austin Jackson went on IR, the 4-week IR. He's out. That means Greg Little now gets inserted in there. He wasn't that great when he was in there last week. No, Liam Eichenberg. We need to know if he's going to play. If he is, all right, that sure is the line up. If he doesn't go, that means we got to go back into the depth. Now we're running problems. And with that front four and that linebacking core of the Ravens, that might be a little too much to ask for, especially if you're a Miami Dolphin fan. This is one of those games like last night. Anthony, you know where I'm about to go with this. This is Texas A&M versus Miami all over again. Just as much as it was last week, it is again now. Deep down, I want Miami to win this game. I want the Dolphins to win it just to prove to everybody that the Dolphins are a major threat in the AFC. I would love for them to go 2-0 back home with Buffalo 1 week from now, because you thought the trash talking from me and Bullock was bad. Just wait, if it's a 2-0 Buffalo versus 2-0 Miami in Miami 1 week from now, oh my God.
Tony
Florio and myself are going to war if that happens.
And yet that could be our game. Who knows?
That could be our game. You never know. But obviously, I got to be the analyst. I got to be professional. And yeah, I do see the writing on the wall. A lot of people is picking Baltimore. I believe Baltimore could get the job done. The track record of the Dolphins and the Ravens, especially in Baltimore, that is not a good place to play. I'm not calling it a house of horrors because we have won there before, but they do have our number. Whenever we play the Ravens in Baltimore, 9 times out of 10, we have not won that game. Just like when they hate coming to Miami. I mean, they hate coming to Miami because a lot of times we've beaten the Ravens in Miami. Most notably last year, the Thursday night game. Anthony, you alluded to it. I think the Ravens will win this one. My final score is 24-17. I got Baltimore winning, but I want Miami to win this game. I would love to see Miami win this game, but I got to be professional here. I believe the Ravens are just a little better than the Dolphins, especially in this one. Would I be surprised if Miami wins it? Absolutely not. I would not be shocked if Miami wins it. Tyreek and Waddle could explode on this game. And I'll even go one further. If they do, if they go off like they did against the Patriots last week, I could easily see, and here's my bold predictions. Tyreek Hill over 100 yards. Jalen Waddle over 100 yards. Tua Tagovailoa 300 yards passing in that game. Bullet, it's yours.
Yeah, this is a tough one here, but yeah, I mean, this is one that could basically go either way, and Fletch, I mean, you're not going to believe this, but I'm about to make you one very happy man because I'm actually going to pull the trigger here. I'm actually going to call for the Miami Dolphins to beat the Baltimore Ravens. And it goes back to what you just said. The secondary for the Baltimore Ravens, I think it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. I mean, they're hurt right now. And I think this is a huge opportunity for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to really take off. Yeah, that I think the offense could you know what? I'm even going to say this. Jalen Waddle's going to go over 100 yards. Tyreek Hill's going to go over 100 yards. And I think Raheem Mostert is going to have a big game here. I mean, he's looking for that first big game as a Miami Dolphin, and I think this is where he could really shine here. And for Tua, Fletch, you said 300 yards passing, right? Right?
Yeah, because of last week, how he got 270 on the Patriots, I think 300 is definitely possible.
You know what, Fletch? I'll do you one better. Because of that injured secondary, I'm actually going to have the cojones to say it. 400 yards passing. That's how I see it. I mean, with this secondary of the Ravens that's depleted, I would not be shocked if that happens. So I actually got the Miami Dolphins to win this one. And since I am the lone wolf on this one for the first time this season, oh!
Yes! Yo! God, you just made my night.
I don't even know how I'm gonna follow that. I thought MF was gonna channel his inner Pat McAfee on that one and throw in a "Let's go" on top of that. But all right, bold predictions indeed. So, but it's gonna be a great one, no doubt about it. All right, guys, let's move on. Next up, it's our number 5 game of the week on our side of the ledger. Keep in mind, we go by the records, as it will be the New York Jets squaring off against the Cleveland Browns from First Energy Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio, on CBS with Spiro Ditas, Jay Feely, and Aditi Kinkabuela. They will be there. And the Browns are actually opening up as 6.5-point favorites. And Cleveland leads the all-time series 14-13. Their last meeting was 2 years ago in New York. Jets won 23-16. Last meeting in Cleveland, 2018. Cleveland won 21-17. Jets last win in Cleveland, that was 2017. 17-14 final. So not much more to say here. MF, no surprise that the Jets crapped the bed at home against the Ravens, but the Browns, the Cleveland Browns, going into Charlotte and stealing one from their old franchise quarterback Baker Mayfield, and now they've got a practical gimme game here.
Yeah, they do. I kind of feel like right now that if you're talking about one team that could really use a gimme game, this is it. So yeah, I do believe that at the end of the night, I think you're absolutely correct here. I do believe that it will be the way of. I think that the Browns are going to win this one. Look, offensively, they look a lot more better. I just don't have any faith in Joe Flacco. Flacco's taken over as well because, of course, Zach Wilson is still injured. So I do believe that the Browns will get the job done. So give me the Browns to win it. Nothing more to say. And yeah, it's on to you, Bullock.
Yeah, I got the Cleveland Browns winning this one as well. I mean, I don't trust Joe Flacco. I mean, he's not that same guy that he was when he was with the Baltimore Ravens, especially when he led the Ravens to Super Bowl 47 victory over the 49ers. So, yeah, and I think the Cleveland Browns are just a smidget better, so I'm going with the Browns. It's yours, Florio.
All right, what to watch for? The Browns are seeking their first 2-0 start since 1993. Cleveland owns the longest drought without a 2-0 start, 25 years in NFL history. But it is 2-6 in its last 8 games against the Jets, who are trying to avoid their fourth straight 0-2 start. Bold prediction: Browns defensive end Myles Garrett will record 2 sacks against the Jets' leaky offensive line and the immobile Joe Flacco. That'll give him 62.5 for his career, surpassing Clay Matthews at an even 62 to become the all-time franchise leader since sacks became an official stat in 1982.
Mike, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, excuse me. I got a pop-up video.
As far as quarterback locks are concerned, how concerned are you about Aaron Rodgers after a very difficult week one? Not yet. I mean, we've
Great podcast, by the way. That's a great podcast. All right. Let me see. Jets Browns. Okay. Garrett would have 62.5 for his career, surpassing Clay Matthews to become the all-time franchise leader since sacks became an official stat in 1982. Garrett has had great success against the Jets, 8 sacks in 4 games, and he's coming off a 2-sack performance. As Jets coach Robert Saleh said, it looks like Miles is on a mission. Stat to know, Nick Chubb has rushed for at least 100 yards in 23 games since 2018, tied with Tennessee's Derrick Henry for the most in the NFL, and he needs 109 rushing yards on Sunday to become the third Browns player with 250 rushing yards in the first 2 games of the season. Jim Brown twice, and the other was Jamal Lewis. What to know for fantasy? Flacco spread the ball around plenty in the Week 1 loss against the Ravens, and that seems to be a theme. In Mike White's 3 high-usage games filling in for Zach Wilson last season, 39% of his targets went to the backfield. It may not be pretty, but in PPR leagues, you could do worse than either Jets running back Michael Carter and Breece Hall. Betting nugget: the Jets are 1-9 against the spread in their last 10 September games and failed to cover each of the last 7. And Browns quarterback Jacoby Brissett is 8-5 against the spread as a starting quarterback when his team is favored. FPI loves Cleveland, 76.6%. 77% going with Cleveland. I'm going with Cleveland as well. I'm going to say 21-13. Cleveland takes care of the Jets, so no problem there. Moving on to the first of our Fox games here. This one will be over on Fox. We have the Washington Commanders squaring off against the Detroit Lions from Ford Field in Detroit. On Fox with Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, and Shannon Spake. They will be in Detroit for that one. And the spread favors, believe it or not, Detroit is actually opening up as a 1.5-point favorite. That's a little surprising, but all right. Washington leads the all-time series 28-15. Their last meeting was 2 years ago, also in Detroit, and the Lions actually won 30-27. Washington has not won in Detroit since they were the Washington Redskins back in 2008, and that was a 25-17 final. So not much more to say here. Michael Bullock, started with you. Washington Commanders and the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Yeah, Commanders I thought looked good in their game, and then yeah, I mean, then Detroit with what they did. I mean, yeah, but to me, I know the Lions are the favorite here, but I gotta go. It'll be a close one, but I gotta go with the Washington Commanders to win this one. I just think they're the much better team here, so it's yours, Florio.
Yeah. What to watch for? With 8 or more catches, second-year Lions receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown has a chance to join Antonio Brown and Michael Thomas as the third player in NFL history with at least 8 catches in 8 straight games. A big game from him would go a long way toward helping Detroit avoid a third straight 0-2 start. Commanders stand in the way after their Week 1 win against Jacksonville, setting up a battle between the 2016 NFL Draft Class top 2 picks, quarterbacks Jared Goff, number 1, then with the Rams, and Carson Wentz, number 2, then with the Eagles. Bold prediction, Commanders rookie receiver Jahan Dotson will top 100 yards and score a touchdown, his third on the season. With the Lions playing a lot of press man, the Commanders receivers will have the potential for a big day. Lions corners Jeff Okudah and Amani Ariari are both adept at playing press, but the Commanders have receivers who can win at the line. In the past 18 games, Detroit has allowed the 4th most yards to receivers when playing man coverage and tied for the most allowed in Week 1. Stat to know, Lions running back DeAndre Swift had 144 rushing yards in Week 1. He would become the first Detroit running back with 200-plus rushing yards through the team's first 2 games of a season since Barry Sanders, when he had 255 in 1998, and the third to do so in team history. The other was Billy Sims in 1980. For fantasy, 4 of Washington receiver Terry McLaurin's 25-point games during his career have come on the road and in the first half of the season. This game checks both boxes and comes against the defense that allowed the 5th most yards per wide receiver reception last season. Betting nugget, Commanders quarterback Carson Wentz is 5-0 against the spread, 4-1 outright in his last 5 games as a road underdog. FPI given the honor to Washington by a smidge, 55.8%, about 56% going with Washington. I'm going with Washington to win this game. My final score, 27-24, Washington. Squeaks one out, steals one at Ford Field, starts 2-0. So, MF, your thoughts on Washington and Detroit?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting matchup. 2 teams that are not really that great, historically. I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders as well. I do believe they'll get the job done. It's going to be a tough fight, but I do believe they will win it. So I got Washington as well. So, Anthony, it's back to you.
All right, MF. Next up, back to our side of the ledger for one of our lower tier games of the week. It's our number 7 game of the week. The Indianapolis Colts squaring off against the Jacksonville Jaguars at TIAA Bank Stadium in Jacksonville. Tom McCarthy and Tiki Barber will be on the call for that. And Indianapolis opening up as a 3.5-point favorite. The series history, as we all know, it's rather one-sided. Well, not really one-sided, but Indianapolis does lead it, though, 26-16. They split both meetings. They've actually split both meetings each of the last 2 years. Or I should say each of the last 4 years, rather. 2018, the last year. Every year for the last 4 years, gentlemen, the Colts and the Jags have split. And not only that, the home team has won every game. So this game, Jacksonville winning in Jacksonville last year, 26-11. And you remember that game. That was week 18. That was when the Jacksonville Jaguars knocked the Indianapolis Colts out of the playoffs. So let's not forget that. It's been a very long time since the Indianapolis Colts have won in Jacksonville. You got to go all the way back to 2014. 2014, the last time the Colts won in Jacksonville. That was a 44-17 beat down there. So, all right. So with all that, let's get into the Colts and the Jags. What to watch for? We have a couple of interesting streaks potentially at stake. The Colts have lost 7 consecutive road games to the Jaguars, including a game in London in 2016, and have lost those 7 games by an average of 14.9 points a game. But on the flip side, Indianapolis quarterback Matt Ryan is undefeated against Jacksonville, 4-0. The Jaguars are one of only 2 teams that have never beaten Ryan, the other being the Las Vegas Raiders. Bold prediction, Colts defensive end Yannick Ngakoue will notch a multi-sack game against his former team after a quiet debut with Indy in Week 1. Ngakoue had 2 sacks in his only other game against Jacksonville in 2019 with the Baltimore Ravens. Stat to know, Indianapolis running back Jonathan Taylor has 468 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns in 4 career games against the Jags, 117 rushing yards a game. For fantasy, volume doesn't figure to be an issue for Colts receiver Michael Pittman Jr. this season. And given his historic efficiency against the Jags, he's nothing short of an elite option here. In 4 career games against Jacksonville, Pittman has pulled in 15 of 16 targets for 173 yards and a touchdown. Betting nugget: Jacksonville is 12-1-1 against the spread in its past 14 meetings with the Colts, but it's also 6-14 against the spread in its last 20 contests as an underdog. Indianapolis, a slight FPI favorite, 55.2% going with Indy. I'm going to go with Indy. I think Indy can get it done here. I think it's going to be close. I'm going to say Indy wins 26-20. And not much more to say. MF, the Colts have not won in Jacksonville since 2014. Could this be the year they finally snap that long road losing streak against the Jags? So MF, Indy and Jacksonville are number 7 game of the week.
Yeah, this is going to be an I kind of feel like Indy's going to bounce back. They're going to have to utilize the running game. They got Jonathan Taylor. I think they're going to do that. It was interesting the way that their strategy and everything else. But I think the defense is going to be a lot more better. I just feel like I got really no faith in Jacksonville here. So I believe Indy will get the job done and they're going to win this game. So I'm with you, Florio. So Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I got Indy winning this one as well. I mean, yeah, I think they'll. I mean, they're going to be looking for payback on Jacksonville after costing them a chance at the playoffs last year. So, that's basically going through the back of their mind. So, Indy wins. Let's move on, Florio.
And we move on to the game of the week on Fox's side of the ledger. This is their game of the week, and rightfully so. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers squaring off against the New Orleans Saints from the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, or I should say the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. And the new A-team will be there. Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olsen, Aaron Andrews, Tom Rinaldi. And Tampa Bay opening up as a 2.5-point favorite. New Orleans leads the all-time series 39-21. And last season, the New Orleans Saints swept the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, including a 36-27 win in New Orleans. As a matter of fact, they've won each of the last 3 years at home. They're on a 3-game home winning streak against the Bucs. Tampa Bay has not won in New Orleans since Week 1 of 2018, that wild 48-40 shootout. That's the last time Tampa Bay won in New Orleans. So, not much more to say here. MF, you lead off on Fox's game of the week, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints, and oh boy, the Saints, boy, have they had Brady's number the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's the big thing. They've had Brady's numbers for the last couple of years, and with everything that's been going on, there's no doubt about it. This can go a number of different ways, but I do believe that they'll get the job done. So, look, New Orleans has had interesting moments. Offensively, they've looked really good. Defensively, they looked pretty strong. But it's just, can they get through whatever they need to get through? That power line, that power offense, whatever you want to call it, I do believe they'll get the job done. And look, Tampa you don't know what to get here. I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, it's Brady. He can figure it out. Yeah, but here's the thing. Mike Evans, not healthy. Chris Godwin might not even play. You got 2 of your best receivers, possibly. What?
Chris Godwin's actually out of this game. I heard it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got Godwin already out. Evans is hurt. He might not play. Leonard Fournette is hurt, and we don't even know if he's going to play. You already got 3 major weapons possibly out, and you think that they're going to win? No. I'm sorry. They're not going to win. I don't care who you are. If you lose that kind of weaponry for Tom Brady, I don't care if he's a goddamn miracle worker. He ain't pulling no miracle on this game. And especially in a place that has been a house of horrors for Brady in the Superdome. New Orleans is geared up. They're jacked up. They're ready for this one. I don't know what it is. Every time the Saints play at home, they're a different football team. They are a juggernaut. They are problems. They dominate. They play great. I'm sorry. I'm calling it. Saints win. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Bullock, it's yours.
You just stole my thunder there, Fletch, because you know what? I'm actually joining you on this one because I got to go with the New Orleans Saints to win this one because it's like you said. Somehow, some way, the New Orleans Saints always find a way to make it very tough on Tom Brady. And we've seen it the last few times they met. I mean, the only time that Brady has gotten to the Saints was in the divisional round in 2020. That was the only time. But all the other times, it seems like Dennis Allen has always found a way to make it tough on him. And I think you're going to see it again. And with all those guys that are hurt or may not even play, I think it's gonna be another tough go around for Brady. So I'm with you, Fletch. I'm calling for the Saints to beat the Bucks in this one. So, Florio, it's yours.
What to watch for? Saints quarterback Jameis Winston will get his second chance at starting against his former team after he tore his ACL against them last Halloween. Winston didn't play in the last meeting between the two teams, a 9-0 win in Tampa Bay, with Dennis Allen in charge because Sean Payton was out with COVID-19. Offensive coordinator Pete Carmichael took over the play calling in that game, but the team was won via a defensive effort. It will not only be an important game for Allen and Carmichael, who have officially taken on new roles this year, but also for Winston, as he has never played in a full game against the Buccaneers. Now keep in mind, this is only a bold prediction. This is not necessarily my prediction. Bold prediction, the Buccaneers will finally defeat the Saints at home. This may not seem very bold, but consider that Tampa Bay hasn't beaten the Saints during the regular season since 2018, and Bucs quarterback Tom Brady is 0-4 against them during the regular season since he signed with them. They'll still struggle with the pass game in the red zone, but running back Leonard Fournette will have another 100-yard game, and Tampa Bay will, as edge rusher Joe Tryon-Shoyinka put it, get the big bear off our backs. Stat to note, Tampa Bay receiver Julio Jones has 6 games with 100-plus receiving yards against the Saints in his career. No other player has more than 3. Jones caught 3 passes for 69 yards in Week 1. What to know for fantasy? September 9th, 2018. That's the last time Buccaneers receiver Mike Evans scored at least 13 points against the divisional rival Saints nearly 1,500 days ago. He is averaging 2 receptions and 32.8 yards a game over his last 6 meetings with New Orleans. Betting nugget, the Saints are 13-7 against the spread in their past 20 games as a home underdog. Yes, the FPI likes Tampa Bay, 70.1%, 70% going with Tampa. I'm with these guys. I got to go with New Orleans until I see different. I'm going to say New Orleans gets it done, and I'm going to say 20-17. New Orleans defeats Tampa Bay. So, even though I originally was leaning towards Tampa, honestly. But, it is what it is. But, all right, let's move on. Another Fox matchup here as we have the Carolina Panthers squaring off against the New York Giants, MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey, in the Meadowlands. Fox's number 2 team on the call for this one, Joe Davis, Daryl Moose Johnston, and Pam Oliver. And the Giants opening up as 2-point favorites. And bear with me as I get it here. The series history favors the Carolina Panthers. Carolina leads the all-time series 6-5. They met in New York last year. Giants won 25-3. Carolina's last win in New York was 2015. 38-35 win, crazy game, 5-star classic of a game. I remember that very vividly. So, not much more to say here. I believe Bullock gets this one first. So, Michael Bullock, Carolina, Baker Mayfield came up just short in getting revenge against his former team. But the shocker of the week last week, the New York Giants stealing one at Nissan Stadium against the Titans, the big upset of last week.
Yeah, yeah, that one definitely shocked a lot of people. I mean, the Giants to go into Tennessee and to beat that team, that was the shocker. But and you know what? I think that momentum's going to continue for the Giants because I just simply don't trust Baker Mayfield running that offense. I mean, yes, you still got Christian McCaffrey, but I don't know. I mean, sometimes you get the good Baker Mayfield or the bad one, and if unless I see some consistency from him, I just think the momentum for the Giants I think is going to continue. So I got to go with the Giants here. So it's yours, Florio.
All right. All right. Panthers and Giants, what to watch for? This game will prominently feature the top two picks of the 2018 NFL Draft. Panthers quarterback Baker Mayfield and Giants running back Saquon Barkley. The third overall pick, quarterback Sam Darnold, is on injured reserve for Carolina as well. Mayfield is on his second team and looking to bounce back from a mediocre debut for the Panthers, while Barkley is hoping to build on a turn back the clock performance, 194 total yards in the opener versus Tennessee in his redemption campaign following 3 injury-plagued seasons. Bold prediction, Panthers running back Christian McCaffrey will get involved early and rush 24 times for 130 yards and a touchdown against the Giants defense that gave up only 93 yards rushing in the opener. McCaffrey was limited to 14 carries and 57 yards in the opener, and this will be McCaffrey's first 100-yard rushing performance since Week 10 of the 2019 season when he had 20 carries and 108 yards at Green Bay. Stat to know, Mayfield was 2-6 in 8 road games last season, 4-2 at home. His 41 total QBR on the road ranked 25th in the NFL. For fantasy, he's back. Saquon Barkley went off for 194 yards and a touchdown on his 24 Week 1 touches. In weeks 3 to 4 last year, before getting dinged up and battling injuries, he had consecutive games with 50-plus rushing yards, a rushing score, and 5 catches for the first time in his career. He did that and much more last Sunday. Look out. Betting Nugget, the Panthers are 5-13 against the spread in the last 2 seasons, tied with the Jacksonville Jaguars for the worst mark in the NFL, including 2-13 against the spread in their last 15 games. The FPI likes Carolina, 58%, but you know what? I'm not really feeling Carolina, to be honest with you. I'm going with the New York Giants to win this game. 24-22, the Giants knock off Carolina. So, not much more to say here. MF, they pulled the shocker of the week against Tennessee in Tennessee last week. Can they do it again?
I think they can. I think the New York Giants finally found their identity, and that was to go through Saquon Barkley. When Saquon Barkley found the fountain of youth and had amazing run performance, he outran Derrick Henry. That's something that I don't think none of us thought was even possible. And now I think he's gonna. And I know you're very high on Christian McCaffrey. I think he's gonna outrun Christian McCaffrey. I think Saquon Barkley is gonna be that player. So I think it's gonna be a dominating performance. I really got nothing more to say here. So yeah, I'm totally in an agreement here, Florio. I'm with you guys. I think the Giants are gonna win. So there's nothing more to say. It's yours.
All right, and then we move on to our final 1 o'clock game of the week. And it's our number 4 game of the week on our side of the ledger. This came in at number 4. A renewal of a once great AFC rivalry. Yeah, it's lost a little luster, but let's not forget all the history and all the fun games these two teams have had together over the last several years. As it will be Michael Bullock's New England Patriots squaring off against the Pittsburgh Steelers at the newly named Acrisure Stadium, formerly Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. On CBS, Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, Evan Washburn will be on the call. New England opening up as a 2.5-point favorite. Pittsburgh leads the all-time series 15-13. Their last meeting was 2019 in Foxborough. New England decimated Pittsburgh 33-3. Last meeting in Pittsburgh, 2018, 17-10, Pittsburgh winning that game. And New England's last win in Pittsburgh, MF and I know this very well because it was one of the greatest regular season games we ever did. New England, when they won that game 27-24, we all know how crazy that game was. That was our game of the year during the 2017 season, but and a game that we'll never forget. So I believe I start, and I think I start this one off. So, all right, here we go, guys. Start it off. All right. What to watch for? The Steelers are playing without star edge rusher TJ Watt, who tore his left pectoral in week 1. He'll be out at least 4 weeks after going on injured reserve, and this will be the Steelers' first test without him. Look for Pittsburgh to primarily lean on Alex Highsmith and Malik Reed to get pressure on New England quarterback Mac Jones, but don't be surprised if defensive coordinator Terrell Austin gets creative and uses guys like cornerback Arthur Mollett to bring the blitz. Bold prediction, the Patriots will have a positive turnover differential. On paper, this looks like a mismatch, with the Steelers at +5 after the opener and the Patriots at -3. But a closer look at the Steelers' opening win showed that quarterback Mitchell Trubisky played it conservatively with an early lead and wasn't forced into many compromising situations. When he was, the results were uneven. That foreshadows the potential for a Patriots defense that was in position to create turnovers last week, but couldn't close the deal, to experience better results in week 2. Stat to know, this will be the first Patriots-Steelers game without either Tom Brady or Ben Roethlisberger starting at quarterback since week 14 of the 1998 season. Drew Bledsoe and Cordell Stewart were the starters. Sunday, however, will be the 11th regular season meeting between Patriots coach Bill Belichick and Steelers coach Mike Tomlin. For fantasy, in week 1, not a single Patriot had 10 rush attempts or more than 6 targets. But on the Steelers side, the fact that tight end Pat Freiermuth and receiver Deontay Johnson combined for a 59.5% target share in the opener should be enough to earn them a spot in fantasy lineups this week. Betting nugget, Belichick is 59-33 against the spread after a loss, but just 8-7 against the spread after a loss in the last 2 seasons since Tom Brady left New England. The Steelers, meanwhile, are 8-2 against the spread in their last 10 conference games. It's the closest game of the week because FPI barely, and I mean barely, is going with Pittsburgh. 50.3% with Pittsburgh, which means 49.7 for New England. This may be the closest FPI spread of the week. But I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this game. I'm going to say 20-17. Pittsburgh defeats New England. But if New England were to steal one here, I would not at all be surprised. I would not. But, we'll wait and see. So, not much more to say here. MF, Patriots and Steelers, number 4 game of the week on our end. And boy, howdy, we've had a lot of these games over the years. And not this time around. It's lost a little bit of luster. But New England, they got lit up by your Dolphins as they continue their struggles in Miami. But another one of the big surprises of the week, Pittsburgh stealing one in Cincinnati, knocking off the AFC champs.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That was a big shocker. I think none of us saw that one coming. But yeah, now we got ourselves a good one here. Like you said, this was a rivalry game that we always used to highlight in our dockets every season. Pittsburgh and New England. Yes, it's lost a little bit of the luster through the past few years. We're just gonna have to wait and see how it plays out. But without a doubt, a great way to start it. There's really nothing more to say. And yeah, it's gonna be a very, very interesting matchup. And I'm with you, Floyo. I kind of feel like Pittsburgh is due on this one. Pittsburgh has played really well. They had actually a good game last week. If Mitchell Trubisky can follow up on what happened, and if the one big problem that I think New England is going to have is that offensive line. The offensive line and the offensive players. Can Mac Jones do enough that's going to give New England a chance? They didn't really get that much offense. If you think about it, they only scored 7 points against a Miami Dolphin defense. And Pittsburgh I mean, they had a lot of issues, everything else. They don't have J.J. Watt. That's a major loss for them. That could hurt them. But I do believe that Pittsburgh will have just enough weapons to get by and beat the New England Patriots. So I think Pittsburgh is going to win it as well. So, Michael Bullock, is this going to be an agreement? Or for the second time tonight, are we going to hear the howl of the wolf?
Well, sorry to say it, but you're not going to hear it for the second time tonight because as much as I want to go with the Patriots to win this one, I just think Pittsburgh is the much better team here. And yeah, they don't have T.J. Watt, but I still think they're going to find a way to make things trouble for Mac Jones. I mean, look, as a fan, I want to see New England win this one. They need a bounce back win, but in an environment like Acrisure Stadium, otherwise known as Heinz Field, as far as I'm concerned, I just think it's going to be tough. So I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this one, but if the Patriots do win, I would not be surprised. So let's move on, Florio.
All right, guys. Now we're gonna move on to the late games now, and we've got couple of we got some 405. We got a 405 and the 425s, obviously. So bear with me for a moment here as all right. Oh, there we go. All right. Let's see if this works. Okay. Um, we have two 405 games and we have three 425 games. So we got five late games here, and we're gonna start it off. Yep, Bullock has left for the night, so MF and I will take you the rest of the way. So so with that, let's get into the late games now. As first up at 405, it will be the Atlanta Falcons squaring off against the Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. Kevin Kugler, Mark Sanchez, and Laura Oakman will be on the call for that one. And the the Rams are the Rams opening up as 10-point favorites in this one. 10-point spread for LA. The series history favors the LA Rams as well. 48-28 with two ties. One tie in 1970, 10-10 in LA, and then the following year in 71 they had another tie, 20-20 in LA. Last meeting was 2019 in Atlanta. Rams won big, 37-10. Last meeting in LA was a wild card playoff matchup, and the Atlanta Falcons stole that game in LA, 26-13. Falcons' last win over the Rams and overall and in LA was 2016. That was a 42-14 beatdown. Rams haven't beaten the Falcons as the LA Rams in LA since all the way back in 1992, 38-27. So there isn't much more to say here. MF, started with you here. We kicked off the season with the LA Rams, and we saw them against the Buffalo Bills, and they hung with them in the first half, but then in the second half it was all Buffalo. And MF, let's be realistic. If any team needs a get-right game, it is the Super Bowl champs. And they got a perfect one right here against the Atlanta Falcons. So MF, Falcons and Rams to start the late slate.
Yeah, to start the late slate, I do believe that this is a get right game for them. I do believe that the Rams should turn it up and get everything that they were hoping for. So yeah, I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna agree with this. The Rams should win it. So there's nothing more to say. Florio, what's yours?
Yeah. What to watch for? Both the Falcons and Rams are coming off Week 1 losses. The Rams are attempting to avoid becoming the fifth defending Super Bowl champion to start the season 0-2. and the first since the Denver Broncos did so in 1999. According to ESPN Stats and Information Research, just one of the 4 teams who started 0-2 made it to the playoffs that season, the 1993 Dallas Cowboys. And oh, by the way, they went on to win the Super Bowl again that year. Atlanta, meanwhile, is looking to avoid starting 0-2 for a third straight season, which would tie the longest streak in franchise history, which they did from 1974 to 76 and 1966 to 68. Bold prediction, the Falcons will pick up 4 sacks, including 2 from defensive tackle Grady Jarrett. LA is expected to have 3 new starters on the offensive line after allowing 7 sacks and 16 quarterback hits to Buffalo. While the Falcons are not the Bills, their defense has shown a larger proclivity to reaching the passer, sacking Jameis Winston 4 times last week, just a season after having an NFL worst 18 sacks. Stat to know, Atlanta quarterback Marcus Mariota had 72 rushing yards in Week 1, the most by a Falcons quarterback since Michael Vick in 2006. And the Rams allowed 56 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown to Josh Allen in Week 1. What's to know for fantasy? Worried about Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford after the season opening dud? He was QB 11 or better in 4 or 5 games last season when having more than normal rest between games. QB 7 or better 3 times. Betting nugget, since 2000, teams that are favored by at least 7.5 points in Week 2 following a Week 1 loss are 20-2 outright, but they are just 7-15 against the spread. Rams overwhelming FPI favorite, 81.6%. 82% going with LA. I'm going with LA. I'm going to say 23-10. LA takes care of Atlanta. So nothing more to say there. The other 405 game, we have the Seattle Seahawks squaring off against the San Francisco 49ers at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. Adam Amin, Mark Schlereth, and Christina Pink will be on the call for that. And San Francisco opening up as a 9-point favorite. And the series history favors, I believe it favors favors Seattle. Seattle leads the all-time series 29-17. Seahawks have won the last 4 meetings in a row with San Francisco, including 28-21 in San Francisco last year. And then in 2020, you remember San Francisco had to play in Arizona because of the pandemic, obviously. And the 49ers have not beaten the Seahawks at home since 2018. That was a 26-23 overtime win. So, not much more to say there. Let's get into this. What to watch for? There's no such thing as a must-win game in Week 2. But this is about as close to it as possible for the 49ers after last week's loss to the Chicago Bears. In 5 years under coach Kyle Shanahan, the Niners have made the playoffs twice, and they started both of those seasons 2-0. They've never made it when losing one of their first 2 games, meaning they are already looking to break a trend. The Seahawks, meanwhile, have reached the postseason all 3 times they've started 2-0 under coach Pete Carroll, leaving plenty of motivation for both teams in a game that still carries a ton of weight in the NFC West. Bold prediction, Seahawks running backs Rashad Penny and Ken Walker III will combine for at least 125 yards rushing and a pair of touchdowns. As good as quarterback Geno Smith was on Monday night, the Seahawks want to rely on their run game to win. Penny was close to breaking off a few long runs in Seattle's opener, and it appears he'll be joined in the backfield rotation Sunday by Walker, the Seahawks second-round pick who missed the opener. The 49ers gave up 99 rushing yards to the Bears in Week 1, and they haven't held teams to fewer than 100 in both of their first 2 games of a season since 2015. Stat to know, Niners quarterback Trey Lance didn't throw a passing touchdown in Week 1. The last 49er quarterback to not throw a touchdown in the team's first 2 games of a season was Brian Hoyer in 2017. For fantasy, despite limited health and a viable passer in Russell Wilson, a Seattle running back surpassed 15 fantasy points in both meetings with San Francisco last season, Travis Homer and Alex Collins. Betting nugget, the 49ers are 6-16-1 against the spread as a home favorite under Shanahan, but they are 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 games, coming off an outright loss. San Francisco, overwhelming FPI favorite, 73% going with San Fran. I'm going with San Fran as well. I'm going to say 23-13. San Fran beats Seattle. So, not much more to say here. MF, last week, Seattle, another one of the surprises of the week, defeating Denver, spoiling Russell Wilson's return to Seattle. But I know last week you must have been like a kid in the candy store when you saw the 49ers and the Bears and all that rain, slop, and mud. Like, you love it.
And the iconic moment of that week was the end of the game where the Chicago Bears all as one going and do the little slip and sliding on that wet, soggy rain right at the end zone. That was such a moment, and had like, dude, I wish I could have been there and done that. Do that little slide on the on that wet grass like they were doing, man. That looked like there was a good sheet of rain on the ground. I wish I could do that. That was awesome, man. I was like, I got a good little chuckle out of that. So it was awesome. That was a really cool thing to see. But like we said, this time around, it is about redemption for more than anything else. Always a good matchup to say the very least. And you kind of have to feel like this is one of those games that it can go either way. But I kind of feel like this time around, if you really honestly think about it, did anybody really think that Seattle was going to do what they did? Did anybody think Geno Smith was going to find the fountain of youth and be this amazing player? No, obviously not. Everybody was thinking, Geno Smith is not that great, that he's going to fall flat on his face yet again, and this and that. And here's the thing. He did not. He actually played really well. And of course, then you start hearing about the Trey Lance thing. Oh, Trey Lance didn't have a great game, this and that. I think it's time we get rid of him. Maybe Jimmy G might be the answer. Whoa, easy, hold. It's only one game. Relax, people. It's not that bad. I think Trey Lance is going to bounce back. I think he's going to get the job done. I got the 49ers winning the game. Now, I will say this, though. If the Niners lose this game and Seattle goes 2-0, then you might start to hear the rumblings of Jimmy G. That's all I'm just going to say right now. So, but I do believe that they'll be able to get the job done. So I got the Niners winning. So, Florio, it's yours.
All right, MF. 3 425 games on our side of the ledger. And this first one here, when we did our schedule release special back in May, we touted this as one of our must-see games of this week 2. I never thought I'd be saying this went from a must-see game to the zonk game of the week. The AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals squaring off against the Dallas Cowboys from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. And on the call for that one, yes, it actually is. It's still going to be them. Hello, friends. Jim Nance, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson. They're going to be there. And Cincinnati opening up as a 7.5-point favorite. Dallas leads the all-time series 9-4. And the Cowboys have won each of the last 4 meetings with the Bengals, including the last meeting in Dallas, which was in 2016. That was a 28-14 win. Cincinnati last beat Dallas. That was in Cincinnati in 2004, 26-3. The Bengals have only won in Dallas once, and that was in 1988. That was the last year they went to the Super Bowl before their surprising run this past year. 1988, went into Texas Stadium and beat the Cowboys 38-24, and that's the only time the Bengals have ever won in Dallas. So not much more to say. MF, when we did our schedule release show in May, this was one of our top games of the week, but I never in my wildest dreams thought this would go from being a must-see game to the zonk game of the week, and it's for good reason. The Cowboys fell flat on their face against Tampa, and on top of that, Dak Prescott. Oh my God, another injury for Dak Prescott, and he's going to be out, 4 to 6 weeks now?
They're talking 4 to 6 weeks, yeah. And then on top of that, if you're Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, oh my God, what a horrible game he had. 4 interceptions, 5 turnovers, and that was without a doubt the most weirdest game I've ever seen. And you want to talk about players falling flat on their faces? That was it. So yeah, I mean, but I do believe that now you have to believe that they're gonna turn it around, that they should get the job done here. So I'm with you on this one, Anthony. I think Cincinnati is gonna turn it around. I just don't see Dallas recovering after this. So I got Cincinnati winning it. I think they're gonna get back on track. Florio is yours.
Yeah, what to watch for. Since 2007, 125 NFL teams have started 0-2, and only 12 have made the playoffs. The Cowboys have the third longest active streak without starting 0-2 at 11 seasons, with only the New England Patriots at 20 and the Green Bay Packers at 15 avoiding it longer. In his 15 years as a head coach, Dallas coach Mike McCarthy is 5-1 following a season-opening loss, but to avoid dropping two in a row, he must rely on backup quarterback Cooper Rush in place of injured Dak Prescott with the thumb. Likewise, the Bengals don't want to become the first team to start 0-2 following a Super Bowl trip since the 2015 Seattle Seahawks, after quarterback Joe Burrow had 5 turnovers in Week 1, 4 interceptions and a fumble. Burrow is facing a defense that led the NFL in takeaways last season with 34. Bold prediction, Cincinnati will have a plus 125 rushing yard differential. The Cowboys struggled to run the ball in the opener against Tampa Bay, and Cincinnati boasts one of the best run defenses in the NFL. Meanwhile, Cincinnati's ground game is a mismatch for a Dallas defense that allowed 4.6 yards a carry in the opener. If the Bengals open up a big lead, expect running back Joe Mixon to get plenty of touches. He is seeking his first 100-yard rushing game since Week 12 of last season. Stat to know, Dallas linebacker edge rusher Micah Parsons had 2 sacks in Week 1, but he has never had 2+ sacks in consecutive games. The Bengals have allowed the most sacks in the NFL since the start of last season. Parsons has 15 career sacks, and he needs 2 more to have the most by a player through 18 career games since individual sacks became official in 1982. For fantasy, Burrow recovered from a slow start to give you 18.2 fantasy points last week against the Steelers. That's nothing new. But his career-high 47 rushing yards was interesting, as was his willingness to take what was given following the T. Higgins injury. Joe Mixon, Hayden Hurst, and Tyler Boyd combined for 24 targets. Betting nugget, the Cowboys are 6-6 against the spread under McCarthy in games started by quarterbacks other than Prescott, but they are 4-1 against the spread in their past 5 such games. Overwhelming favorite is Cincinnati, 82.6%, 83% going with Cincy. I'm going with Cincy as well. 26-6, Cincinnati all over Dallas. So not much more to say there. Next 425 game, it's the Houston Texans squaring off against the Denver Broncos from Sports Authority Field at Mile High in Denver. Andrew Catalan, James Lofton, Michael Grady will be on the call for that one. And Denver opening up as a 10-point favorite. Denver leads the all-time series 5-3. Their last meeting was 2019 in Houston. Denver won 38-24. Last meeting in Denver, Houston won 19-17. Broncos' last home win against Houston 2016, 27-9. So, Texans and the Broncos. What to watch for after an improbable opening week loss in Seattle, the Broncos need to show they can respond. In the words of quarterback Russell Wilson, what was once one of the best home field advantages in the league has evaporated in recent years. The Broncos have had losing records at home in 3 of the last 4 seasons, after going 6-2 or better at home in 3 of Peyton Manning's 4 seasons in Mile High. The good news is Wilson is 9-1 in home openers in his career, with 18 passing touchdowns and just 3 interceptions. And the Texans, coming off their first tie ever, have lost 12 of their last 13 non-divisional games. Bold prediction, Texans rookie running back for the Texans, Dameon Pierce, will break out by rushing for more than 100 yards. He didn't produce much in the Week 1 opener against the Colts, 11 carries for 33 yards, after generating a lot of buzz during the preseason. But Coach Lovie Smith admitted Houston wants to get the ball to Pierce more. Stat to know, the Broncos didn't score a touchdown and had 2 turnovers in 4 red zone trips in Week 1. Since the start of last season, they ranked 29th in red zone touchdown percentage at 51 and last in red zone scoring percentage, 77. For fantasy, it's unlikely that the Texans' run game sees as favorable a game script as they did in Week 1 again this season, and yet their backfield combined for under 17 fantasy points. Both Pierce and Rex Burkhardt deserve to be rostered, but neither can be started at the moment. Betting nugget, the under is 11-4 in the Texans' past 15 road games. Overwhelming favorite is Denver. They're 76% favorite for the FPI. Easy win for Denver. They'll bounce it back. 31-14. I got Denver all over Houston. So not much more to say here. MF, we talked about it with the Rams earlier. Denver Broncos. This is just as much a get-right game for them after that surprising loss in Seattle last Monday night.
You're absolutely right. I think this is the ultimate get right, to say the very least. There's really nothing more to add here. You absolutely made the point for me. So yeah, um, I don't really think there's really much to talk about here. So um, it's yours.
All right, in the final 425 game on CBS, and it's our number 8 game of the week. Both of these teams are 0-1 as well. We got the Arizona Cardinals squaring off against the Las Vegas Raiders from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. The legendary Greg Gumbel with Adam Archuleta and AJ Ross. They will be on the call for that one. And the Raiders opening up as 5.5-point favorites. And the series history favors the Raiders 6-4. Last meeting was 2018 in Arizona, and the Raiders actually won that one, 23-21. The last time the Raiders were the home team, they were the Oakland Raiders, 2014. Arizona won that one, 24-13. The Raiders have not beaten the Cardinals at home since they were the Oakland Raiders in 2006, 22-9. So MF, we got the Cardinals and the Raiders squaring off. Arizona. Oh boy, they got the doors.
They got the doors blown off on them. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't find the words. Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes lit them up, and the Raiders, tough luck loss at SoFi against the Chargers.
Yeah, and I do believe that this time around the Raiders are gonna bounce it back. I think they're gonna get the win back. I think they're gonna dominate it. Look, Kyler Murray looks lost. He did not know what he was gonna do. If you're the Raiders, look, if it wasn't for Derek Carr, he made a couple of mistakes in the game, but you had a decent running game by Josh Jacobs, and Devontae Adams went off in the game. I think a couple of more passes his way. I think they would have won this game. They would have beaten the Chargers the way that they would have done it. They almost did it, but they just came up a little short. I think this time around they don't come up short. I think the Raiders will get the win back. They'll go 1-1. I got the Raiders winning. So Anthony, it's yours.
All right. Let's see what to watch for in this one. Try as he might to downplay the significance, Raiders defensive end Chandler Jones should be amped to face his former team in his Las Vegas home debut. Jones, who signed a 3-year, $52.5 million free agent contract with the Raiders after 6 seasons in Arizona, was shut out in Las Vegas opener with just 3 pressures and a hit. The last time Jones faced a former team for the first time, the 2016 opener for the Cardinals against the Patriots, he went off for a sack, 2 QB hits, a fumble recovery, and 5 tackles. Bold prediction: after getting targeted just 6 times and catching 4 of them for 43 yards and a touchdown, Cardinals wide receiver Marquise Hollywood Brown will break loose for 8 or more catches for at least 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Arizona has talked all week about learning from its mistakes from week 1. One of those was not getting its playmakers involved as much. That will change in Vegas. Brown will want to show that there's more than one star receiver on the field. Stat to know, Raiders receiver Devontae Adams was targeted 17 times in week 1, the most by any player, and 11 more times than any other Raiders player. Fellow Vegas receiver Hunter Renfrow had just 3 catches for 21 receiving yards, the second lowest yardage in a start in his career, 12 yards in week 5 of the 2019 season. For fantasy, by all accounts, Arizona running back James Conner struggled in the week 1 blowout loss to the Chiefs. But guess what? He still had 16.5 fantasy points, averaged just 3.7 yards a touch, but with a consistent pass game role and elite career conversion numbers in close, he's a lineup staple. Betting nugget: the Cardinals have won each of their last 6 road games outright when they were an underdog, just one shy of matching the 1980-81 Seattle Seahawks for the longest such win streak in the Super Bowl era. Vegas is the FPI favorite, 63% going with Vegas. I'm going with Vegas as well. I'm going to say 41-27, the Raiders defeat the Cardinals. So with that, we move on to Sunday Night Football, and now we move on to the first of 3 primetime games. And we have Sunday Night Football on NBC, and we renew the greatest rivalry in NFL history. The Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers from the not-so-frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. 8:20 on NBC. Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth, and Melissa Stark will have the call. Green Bay opening up as a 10-point favorite. Green Bay leads the all-time series 102-94 with 6 ties. The Packers have owned the Bears. The Packers have swept the Bears in the season series each of the last 3 years. In Green Bay last year, Green Bay won 45-30. The Bears have not won at Lambeau since 2015. That was a 17-13 final, and that's the story. So Bears in the pack. Let's see. What to watch for? Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers has won 6 straight starts against the Bears, including last year's I Still Own You game at Soldier Field. In those 6 games, he has thrown 16 touchdowns without an interception, tied for the 4th most consecutive passing TDs without an interception against a single opponent in the last 45 years. He even had another streak of 16 touchdowns, 0 interceptions against the Bears from 2013 to 15. The new-look Chicago defense under coach Matt Eberflus did not allow a touchdown pass in the Bears opener against the 49ers, although the game was played in a downpour that significantly limited the passing game. Bold prediction, Green Bay receiver Christian Watson will post his first 100-yard receiving game. The rookie dropped what would have been a 75-yard touchdown pass against Minnesota, but Rodgers has confidence he can get on the same frequency with his young pass catcher. Watson will lead the Packers in catches, top 100 yards receiving, and make up for last week by scoring his first touchdown. Stat to know, Chicago quarterback Justin Fields is seeking consecutive games with multiple passing touchdowns for the first time in his career, and Bears running back Khalil Herbert is looking for consecutive games with a rushing touchdown for the first time in his career. For fantasy, in both meetings with the Bears last season, Packers running back Aaron Jones scored over 20 fantasy points, while A.J. Dillon scored fewer than 8. Betting nugget, Green Bay is 9-0 outright and against the spread after a loss under coach Matt LaFleur, and the Bears are 3-12 against the spread in their past 15 games against NFC North opponents. The FPI loves Green Bay. 87% going with Green Bay. I'm going with Green Bay. I think they'll get an easy bounce-back win here. I'm going to say 35-7, Green Bay, all over Chicago. So, not much more to say. MF, theme of the night so far, get right games, and here you go for Green Bay. This is very much not only a get right, but this is
Must
assuredly a must win.
Must need if you're Green Bay. You need this game more than anything else. Look, Aaron Rodgers looked lost. He just didn't have the offensive line. The receivers couldn't catch. Hopefully that'll turn around this week, and I think they will. I got Green Bay winning the game as well. So, Florio, let's get into the 2 Monday Nighters.
Yes, and the first one is our number 3 game of the week, and it would have been number 2 if things had gone differently, but nonetheless, it comes in at number 3. The first of 2 Monday Night Football games on 2 different networks, by the way. This is going to have a special 7:15 kickoff on ESPN, and it will feature the Tennessee Titans squaring off against the Buffalo Bills from Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. You would have thought this would have been the Buck and Aikman game. No, it's not. This is not where you're going to see Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. You'll get them in a moment. Instead, you're going to have Steve Levy, MF, your boy Dan Orlovsky. I told you Dan Orlovsky had a special assignment. Here it is. Steve Levy, Dan Orlovsky, Louis Riddick, and Laura Rutledge will be on the call for that one. Buffalo opening up as a 10-point favorite. Tennessee leads the all-time series 29-17. Titans have won each of the last 2 meetings with Buffalo, including a very exciting 34-31 Monday Nighter last year, and then a beatdown 2 years prior. Last meeting in Buffalo was 2018. Buffalo won 13-12. Tennessee's last win in Buffalo was 2012, 35-34. But MF, Tennessee and Buffalo coming in at the number 3 game of the week. Tennessee choked a big-time collapse against the Giants. They had things cooking early, then they fell apart in the end, and the Buffalo Bills flex their muscle in LA, showing so many of us why they are one of the favorites to not only go all the way, but, so Tennessee Buffalo, number 3 game of the week. What a game this will
Yeah,
be.
and the thing is like you said, they flexed their muscle early, they flexed their muscle often, and they dominated the whole game. There was no argument here. Buffalo was without a doubt the best team out there last week, and nobody really even is gonna challenge that notion. Now the question becomes is how do you do that for a repeat performance? How do you try to continue that hot run that they had, and how do you parlay that? Well, here it is. This is the game. So at the end of the day, I do believe Buffalo will keep their hot streak going, and I do believe it'll be 2 in a row. I believe Buffalo will win this game. So I just don't see anything from Tennessee that makes me want to say that the Titans are going to win it. So nothing more to say. Buffalo wins. Anthony, it's yours.
What to watch for? Can the Bills stop Titans running back Derrick Henry? Buffalo's run defense got off to a solid start against the Rams last week, limiting them to 52 yards, but the Bills held a lead for much of that. When the Titans and Bills met on Monday Night Football last year, Henry ran for 143 yards on 20 carries, including a 76-yard touchdown run. An added element to this is that 2 of the Bills' top defensive tackles, Ed Oliver and Tim Settle, are dealing with injuries and may not be available for the game. Henry has 6 rushing touchdowns in 4 career games against the Bills and has averaged 3.2 yards per rush after contact against them, his highest versus any opponent he has faced multiple times. Bold prediction: the Titans will sack Buffalo quarterback Josh Allen 6 times on Monday night. Although the Rams only sacked Allen twice last week, Tennessee registered 5 sacks against the Giants in Week 1, and outside linebacker Rashad Weaver and defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons had 2 sacks each. Simmons said it's critical to keep Allen in the pocket and constrict it, which is something the Titans can accomplish with twists and stunts up front. Stat to know: Tennessee quarterback Ryan Tannehill has averaged 6 yards per attempt in his career against the Bills, his 3rd worst versus any opponent, and his 7 career losses to the Bills are his 2nd most against an opponent, 8 to the Patriots. What to know for fantasy? Josh Allen has led the quarterback position in 30-point games in consecutive seasons. He had another in Week 1 and is looking for consecutive 30-point efforts, something he did not do last season. Betting nugget: over the last 10 seasons, since 2013, teams that play the season opening Thursday night game, Buffalo, are 15-3 outright and 12-6 against the spread in Week 2. The FPI loves Buffalo, 79% going with Buffalo. I'm going with Buffalo to win as well. I got Buffalo winning. My final score, 34-21. Buffalo knocks off Tennessee. And our final game of the week, the other Monday Night Football game, 8:30 kickoff over on ABC. The Minnesota Vikings squaring off against the Philadelphia Eagles from Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. And this is where you're going to get Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Lisa Salters. They will be in the Philadelphia for this one. And Philadelphia opening up as a 2-point favorite. Minnesota leads the all-time series 15-10. Minnesota's won the last 2 meetings. 38-20 in Minnesota in 2019 was the last. Their last in Philly was 2018. Minnesota won that one, 23-21. Eagles have not beaten the Vikings at home since the NFC Championship game in January of 2018, 38-7 beatdown. Last regular season win was 2016, 21-10. So, here we go. Final game of the night. What to watch for: the Eagles defense was gashed for 181 rushing yards on 28 carries, 6.5 a carry in Week 1 against the Detroit Lions. The tackling was shoddy, coming off a light training camp, and gap assignments were an issue. That could spell big things for Minnesota running back Dalvin Cook, who ran for 90 yards on 20 carries against the Green Bay Packers. Part of the solution could be more of Philadelphia defensive tackle Jordan Davis. When the first-round pick was on the field Sunday, Detroit averaged 2.9 yards a carry on the ground compared to 10 yards a carry when he was on the sideline. Bold prediction: a Vikings skill positioning player other than receiver Justin Jefferson will have a 100-yard day. This is not to rule out Jefferson also hitting triple digits, but after watching him tear up the Packers defense in Week 1, the Eagles will pay more attention to him and invite quarterback Kirk Cousins to throw more often in the direction of receivers Adam Thielen and KJ Osborne, and even Cook. Stat to know, receiver A.J. Brown had 155 receiving yards in his Eagles debut, fifth most by any player in his first game with a new team all time. No Eagle receiver has had consecutive 100-yard receiving games since Jordan Matthews in 2015. Brown also had 10 catches in Week 1, and the most catches by an Eagles player in the first 2 games of a season is 16, done 6 times. For fantasy, for just the second time in his career, Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts had at least 6 designed runs and scored on one of them. That role supports a fantasy floor that is rare, and if the dial-back passing approach is here to stay, his Week 1 average depth of throw is nearly 47% lower than what it was one of the most consistent fantasy quarterbacks in the game. Betting nugget, Cousins is 2-9 outright and against the spread on Monday Night Football, though he has won and covered his past 2 such games. And since 2010, the Vikings are 0-7 against the spread as an underdog on Monday Night Football. The FPI likes Philadelphia, 66%. And I'll take a chance on Philadelphia. Why not? I'll go with Philadelphia to win this one. I'll say 24-21. So I got Philly winning, so MF taking home.
I agree with that. I think Philly is gonna continue their hot streak, and I got really nothing more to add. So Anthony, it's yours.
All right, and that will put the bow on this special Friday night edition of TXN Sports World NFL Saturday. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. We'll be back with you all on Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, right back here on the Tone 25, as we will have Monday Night Raw and my Tony's take on Impact Wrestling and NXT Level Up. Wednesday, we got Wednesday Night Madness, the new NXT, and of course, AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. Look out. That's all I'm saying. Thursday, the Week 4 edition of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday. And we got a bit of a quandary here, MF, because next week, the AEW Rampage is going to be a 2-hour show. So we're going to have to put our heads together on that one. So,
We might have to bump it off and then possibly do it on Sunday then.
what about Saturday? No, or unless you're busy.
No, we can't do Saturday. Saturday's the NFL.
Oh, yeah. Unless we move the NFL show unless we do another.
Unless we
Friday
do
NFL show.
unless we flip it.
Yeah,
Do it
might
again
be what we
next,
have to do.
but
I think that's what we should do. So maybe we'll do the NFL show once again on Friday next week, and then bump the Cerebral Smack Talk to Saturday because of the 2-hour Rampage. So
yep.
yeah,
we could do that.
Yeah, so that's what we will do. Maybe around the same time, or maybe we could start it earlier. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But that's that. So until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, and in spirit Michael Bullock, and the First Lady Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed weekend, and until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, you've been watching the special Friday edition of TXN Sports World NFL Saturday right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and Streamer.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio. So long. Bye, everybody. Bye.